You weren't even in the room, but your presence lit the match. Somewhere behind closed doors, the silence you left behind became too loud to ignore. Voices rose like thunder. Tempers cracked open like fault lines. And in the chaos, a truth they buried for too long finally burst to the surface. But the fight wasn't about spilled secrets or broken promises. It was about you, the one they pretended not to see, the one they dismissed while watching your every move. The one they lied about over and over because admitting the truth would have exposed everything they fear in themselves. They told the world you didn't matter, but their rage just proved you never left their mind. This is what happens when you try to suppress a divine presence. Pressure builds, masks slip, and suddenly, everything they built on falsehoods crumbles in front of witnesses. Because chosen ones don't need to speak to shake the room. Your existence alone reveals what others work so hard to hide. Here, in this space, in echoes of the chosen, nothing stays buried forever. Not when the Spirit is stirring, not when heaven decides it's time to uncover the truth. For it is written, nothing hidden will remain concealed. Nothing spoken in secret will fail to be revealed in the light. They thought their story was strong enough to rewrite your name. But the truth has a voice of its own. And it shouted through their broken composure, their shattered alliances, their trembling excuses. You were the earthquake. You were the mirror. And now, their war has revealed what their words never could. Stay with me, because what's being revealed in this message may explain your entire life. This isn't gossip. This is divine confirmation. And the scroll they tried to hide is now being unsealed. Line by line, name by name. And yours is at the center of it. The presence they couldn't erase. They didn't say your name out loud, but it echoed in every word they flung like weapons. You were the unseen gravity pulling their rage into orbit, the silent presence they tried to pretend wasn't there, until it swallowed the whole room. They weren't arguing with each other. They were breaking under the pressure of denying you. You are not ordinary. And deep down, they always knew. What they called tension was really conviction. What they labeled discomfort was the Spirit exposing their duplicity every time you entered the room. That's why their voices trembled. That's why the lies snapped. Because your existence shattered the illusions they'd built around their own image. You didn't stir the conflict. Your anointing did. When David walked into the battlefield, he didn't shout. His presence was the challenge. Goliath fell not just because of David's sling, but because of what David carried. In the same way, you walk with a presence that threatens every counterfeit narrative in the atmosphere. They can't ignore you. They can't erase you. Because what you carry was written in heaven before it ever disrupted their story. And now, the truth they buried is standing over their broken performance, wearing your face. When heaven made you invisible on purpose. You thought you were being overlooked, forgotten, abandoned in silence. But the silence was sacred. Heaven didn't hide you to punish you. Heaven hid you to preserve the prophecy. What looked like rejection was divine encryption. You were cloaked, not canceled. Joseph was thrown into a pit and sold into slavery. Not because he was forgotten, but because his visibility came too early for their comfort. God protected his assignment by allowing the misunderstanding. And so it was with you. The silence wasn't absence. It was divine surveillance. In your hidden seasons, heaven watched the watchers. God let their mouths run so their masks could fall, all while you stood still under divine concealment. The shadows kept you from reacting. The obscurity kept you from performing, and the delay kept you from attaching to things too small for your destiny. Now the seal is breaking, the silence is lifting, and the ones who mocked your disappearance are now unraveling in your return. Your exile was the womb of your authority, forged in fire. Why the fight was never about the fight. It looked like chaos, shouting, accusation, faces twisted with rage. But underneath the noise was something ancient, a collision between a lie and the vessel it couldn't contain. They weren't fighting each other. They were screaming against the truth your existence demanded. Every betrayal, every cold shoulder, every whispered rumor, it all became part of the forge. They didn't realize they were shaping the very weapon they feared. Like Job, you were struck not because of sin, but because heaven had set you apart for something greater than comfort. You were not attacked for who you are. You were refined for what you're becoming. Pain is the tool. Fire is the teacher. And God used both to remove the layers you didn't need for the assignment ahead. This wasn't just emotional drama. It was divine metallurgy. You are not coming out of this burned. You are coming out as proof that no lie formed against you could stand the heat. And now, those who tried to label you are being exposed by the truth they refuse to acknowledge, that everything they thought would break you only built you. What they meant to bury you in has become the stage of your emergence, the cost of lying to a chosen one. There are consequences to speaking falsely against the marked. They didn't just lie about you. They lied against the scroll written with your name, and heaven does not forget. Scripture says, "Touch not mine anointed, and do my prophets no harm." But they did more than touch. They rewrote, twisted, manipulated, and thought their narrative would outlive the truth. They underestimated divine timing. The lie was their weapon, but it became their mirror. Because once the truth arrives, it doesn't ask for permission. It devours the illusion. And the price is always greater than they expected. The lie wasn't just destructive, it was prophetic permission for exposure. Judas kissed Jesus not to honor him, but to mark him for destruction. But in doing so, he identified the chosen one in the eyes of heaven. So it is now. Their betrayal didn't void your calling, it verified it. Their deception was the flare that alerted heaven to activate your next season. And now, as the dust settles, the cost of lying is echoing in every room they enter. What they whispered in darkness has become the courtroom where truth sits on the throne. You were the earthquake, not the enemy. You didn't raise your voice. You didn't defend yourself. But the ground still split beneath them when you walked in, because chosen ones don't need applause to carry weight. Your stillness was thunder. Your peace was war. They mistook your silence for surrender. But heaven knew. Heaven was watching the quake in your footsteps. Gideon didn't look like a warrior, but when God was with him, he tore down altars built on lies. That's who you are. Not just a person, a dismantling. Wherever you go, false foundations tremble. You don't have to push. Your presence is the pressure. They tried to contain you by pretending you were powerless. But now, the very room that ignored you is shaking under the authority you never had to announce. This is not ego. This is not revenge. This is divine architecture collapsing around those who tried to cage your identity. You weren't the problem. You were the proof. And proof always disturbs the lie. Heaven is calling you out of the shadows. The silence is ending. The curtain is parting. And the trumpet is sounding in your direction. Heaven is calling you forward, not because you fought to be seen, but because now is the appointed time to be revealed. Esther was hidden until her presence was required for preservation. She wasn't loud, she wasn't aggressive, but when her moment came, her name echoed through the halls of kings. You, too, have come to the kingdom for such a time as this. You were hidden for holiness, but now you're being unveiled for impact. This isn't about fame. This is about function. The fire qualified you. The silence trained you. And the exposure of their lies became the activation of your name. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be sent. This is your commissioning. Step forward. The shadows no longer fit the shape of your calling. The rise of the unshakable remnant. You are not alone. The pain you carried was not isolated. The betrayal, the rejection, the lies, they've been spoken against many. Across nations, across timelines, heaven has marked a remnant. a scattered, silenced, misrepresented people, now rising. Elijah thought he was the last, but God whispered, "I have reserved 7,000 who have not bowed." And just like that, the remnant was revealed. You are not the only one, but you are one of the only. Now is the time for convergence. The chosen are finding each other. The echoes are growing louder, and what was once scattered is now forming a movement. A family of fire, a lineage of light. They lied about you to isolate you, but heaven preserved you to unify the rest. You are part of the awakening, and the awakening has begun. Your silence was sacred, but now you must speak. What you carry isn't just yours to feel, it's yours to release. You were silent while they accused, silent while they twisted, silent while heaven kept record, but now your voice is required, not to argue, not to defend, but to declare. Mary didn't explain her pregnancy. She simply sang a song that carried generations. So must you. What once bruised your heart is now the sound of your scroll being unsealed. Your testimony is not a story of pain. It is the trumpet of reckoning. The alarm for others still hidden. The confirmation for those who thought they were crazy for sensing what they sensed. You don't speak to be heard. You speak to awaken. And now your silence has finished its assignment. Let your voice become the echo. You weren't the chaos. You were the catalyst. The fire didn't break you. It revealed the blueprint heaven wrote in silence. This was never about their opinion of you. It was about heaven's unveiling through you. The very fight they staged in secret was the altar upon which your confirmation was carved. You were never erased. You were encrypted, not denied, but divinely delayed until the hour your presence would unmake every lie spoken in your absence. You, chosen one, have passed through the silence, endured the distortion, stood beneath the weight of false narratives, and yet you remain, unburned, unshaken, unmoved, because you were never made of what they threw at you. You were formed in what God whispered about you. Heaven never forgot your name. It was written in flame. You have been hidden in plain sight, tested in secret, and now you are being released in full authority. So hear this. You have been marked, you have been forged, and now you are being sent. This is your moment to echo. Comment 711 if this word pulled something ancient out of your spirit. Let the remnant know you heard your name in this revelation. Share in the comments. The moment that cracked you open, the line that sealed you, the truth that finally gave you permission to rise. Subscribe now and stay connected to Echoes of the Chosen, because this movement isn't about going viral. It's about going home. You are not alone. You are the next echo.